everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube Power Hour YouTube channel. My name is Erika Vieira, the host of the podcast. And this week I am interviewing beauty YouTube creator Whitney Hendrick. Now, Whitney talks about how she dramatically changed the content of her YouTube channel. And then all of a sudden she saw her video views and subscribers blow up. So here in this interview, she details exactly the changes that she made, why she was not satisfied with the content she was creating, and how she aligned her content with how she was feeling about the beauty YouTube community and how that actually worked out for her in the long term. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe because every single week I come out with new interviews with successful YouTube creators, pulling back the curtain to reveal what it really takes to be successful on YouTube. And comment below, do you have a YouTube channel, specifically a beauty YouTube channel? Is that something that you have worked on for a while, or are you brand new to YouTube? Enjoy the interview. Mwah. Well, hello, Whitney. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, I am very excited to have you. I actually had been following you for a while. I subscribed to you like years ago. I don't know how I found you, but I found you on YouTube, and I just think you have such great videos, and I love how you explain about makeup and detail and stuff. So I really enjoy your videos. But part of the reason why I want to have you on now is because I noticed recently it's like you're kind of petering along at the same subscriber count, and then this year it just jumped up. And I think there's a lot of lessons that you can share and a lot of things that we can talk about. Being somebody who's been on YouTube for like a little while, how to kind of shift and navigate this landscape, and for you ultimately resulted in some more accelerated growth. So why don't we get started just really briefly talking about what inspired you to get onto YouTube a few years ago?
I have been avidly watching YouTube beauty content since about 2007. I think it's the first time I ever found it was like a black smoky eye tutorial, and it completely changed my life that the education was out there. Because I don't know how old you are. I'm 33 and I've always been into makeup, and it just felt like the only way you could access any education about it all was maybe through like a pictorial kind of tutorial in Cosmo or Teen. It just wasn't good information. So it was kind of like having ingredients and pots and pans in front of you, but nobody ever teaching you how to cook. So when I found YouTube beauty videos, I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And I just fell down a rabbit hole. And then I knew once I started doing makeup professionally that I just wanted to be a part of that, since it was kind of like I wanted to give back what I had gotten out of it. And then also just an opportunity to connect with people who cared about makeup and beauty the way that I did, because none of my friends or family care about this at all. It's like I'm kind of the cheese stands alone over here with all that.
So are you a professional makeup artist? Were you a professional makeup artist when you found YouTube, or
I wasn't when I found it, but I learned much. Like I went to makeup school in 2012, but I had been using YouTube as kind of a resource to learn about product. And like, for example, where I'm from, it's a very small town. We didn't have a MAC, a Sephora, none of that stuff. I didn't even know high-end makeup existed until I was around 21, 22. So YouTube was the main thing that introduced me to the whole world of it. And then when I started makeup school, I just kind of had a little bit of an understanding of things going into it. And I think it honestly accelerated my career because, I didn't go into makeup school with zero knowledge of anything. And then when I went to makeup school, it just expanded my education. I just found it extremely helpful as a resource for someone who wants to be a professional makeup artist. So I was a pro MUA from about 2011, and I did my last wedding in 2017. So about 6, 7, 8 years. I don't know. Math was kind of fuzzy.
Yeah. So 2017 was like, so you're no longer working as a professional makeup artist.
I'm doing my sister's wedding in a couple of weeks, and if people close to me want me to do something, I will. But right now I'm really focusing on YouTube. I find that when you said that you've been watching me for years, a lot of the years that I was on YouTube, I was doing pro MUA work. So YouTube was just the thing I did when I didn't have anything to do that day, like if I wasn't booked. I just know that if I want to get back into pro makeup artistry, which is definitely not ever going to be completely off the table for me, YouTube will suffer as a result. So it's kind of, I have to decide which one I really want.
When did you make that decision to focus fully on YouTube?
When I moved, I left Vegas in 2000. That's where the majority of my pro makeup career was in Las Vegas. I left there in mid 2015. I did a little bit of work in Georgia, where I'm from. That's where I returned to once I left Vegas. The work was just so different. It wasn't the caliber of opportunities. It was just a lot of weddings, and nothing against weddings. It just wasn't my passion. So I was like, I'll just kind of mess with YouTube and kind of pop in and out. But I would say that I fully decided I'm done with Pro MUA after that last wedding I did in 2017.
Okay. And then you knew at that point that you wanted to focus on your YouTube. That was the reason why you stopped it. Well, you moved, but at that point you felt YouTube was your focus.
Yeah, I kind of felt like I just kind of had one leg in and one leg out on both of them. And I felt like, I'm sure you can agree with this. YouTube and social media is like, it's like a baby. You have to like take care of it and nurture it and give it a lot of attention, or it just falls off. And I realized that I needed to commit to one or the other. And I would say, around 2017, that's when I decided to give it 100%. But the irony is I still really wasn't giving it 100%. I think I was grossly underestimating what it took to kind of get something to grow the way it has this year, for example.
So, okay, that was 2017. And we can even like look on your timeline even. But about how many subscribers did you have? I have your Social Blade here too. We can kind of pull that up if that helps.
I want to say maybe in 2017 I might have had 60,000, maybe a little over 50.
Yeah, here. What do you remember? What month it was that you moved and made that choice? Because I have it here on the screen.
That would have probably been about where you got it right there, about October. September or so. Yeah, so somewhere in there.
So you're at like 67,000 subscribers when you said, hey, I'm going to really focus all in on YouTube.
Yes, and like I said, really wasn't even doing it. Like, no. I think what happened was I decided, okay, I'll do YouTube, but I just think that I was doing what everybody else was doing, thinking that was like some magic formula that was going to take me to the next level. And then when it wasn't working out, I think I kind of got discouraged, and then I really just went through this thing. It's been a constant struggle. I'm not going to lie, being like, do I do pro makeup? Do I do YouTube? I can't decide which one's right. And really the only thing that changed for me as far as this year was I just decided I was going to talk about something totally different and I really wanted to enjoy it, because even when I decided to take it seriously, it felt like such a chore. So end of September 2017, I've made the decision, but I'm not happy about it at that point, if that makes any sense. So
what you mentioned, like you felt like there was like this formula to be a beauty channel or whatever. Like what was that to you, or what did you think it was?
It felt like every year since about 2015, YouTube beauty content has had like a theme. So like, for example, I feel like in 2015, we were still doing a lot of tutorials. I feel like 2016, 2017, there was a lot of challenges going around. If you recall, it was like full face of prison makeup or whatever, like any number of things that went on for a while. And then it kind of felt like around end of 2017 to 2018, the new thing was a lot of product heavy videos. It felt like dedicated videos reviewing one product. So it just kind of felt like this constant cycle of like, if I want to have a relevant YouTube channel, I need to talk about products nonstop. And then you'd have a haul in there and maybe a favorites video every month. It just felt very formulaic and very robotic and very, just didn't feel like there was a lot of room for creativity. And I don't know, like, I do agree that there's makeup products out there that are better than others, but I can only talk about them for so long. I just felt like this isn't what I can do. It's not my gig. And that's why if you look at my frequency of uploads for that time period, they're so few and far between, because I just couldn't get excited about here's another nude lipstick launch. Like it just wasn't my thing, but I saw other people succeeding in it. Yeah. It just wasn't working for me at all.
So we can pull up your channel. So you would say...
Oh, Lord.
You're like, oh, look at the old ones. This was maybe around 3 years ago. Around that time. So Ulta Haul.
This is when the tutorials were still really big. You could still kind of do things with tutorials. So every week I was doing a dedicated makeup tutorial, and then you'd have like a haul and a favorites video. I was happy doing tutorials, but honestly, I just don't feel like they do very well anymore. Like if you can come up with the perfect thumbnail and title, you might be able to blow up with it. But people, I don't know. People tell me all the time they want more of them, but they don't watch them. So I'm just not sure.
You're like, there's a disconnect here. I'm doing more of them. You're not watching them.
Exactly. So this is, you can see that Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. That was one of the first times I ever did a video dedicated to a product. And if you look at the video, the views surrounding it, it did really well. I mean, it wasn't quite 69,000 when it went up, but it was still comparably doing better than everything else. And I think that's around the time all the palettes were coming out. Lots of that product heavy content was being done. And so I was like, well, let me try this for a little bit. And slowly but surely you'll notice my uploads start to kind of fall off because you just
weren't passionate.
I mean, I no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade to anybody who likes to do that kind of thing. But I just didn't find any fun in it, because after a while, it feels like a lot of the products are kind of the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So you got, it sounds like you're passionate about makeup and like the art of doing makeup, but the idea of the products, you're just kind of like burnt out from this whole concept.
Absolutely.
So at that point, even though you were doing YouTube full time, you weren't like really that into it. Were you supporting yourself financially through your channel?
I'm very lucky in that my husband makes enough money to support us no matter what I decide to do. And that's a situation that when people come to me and they're like, I do get asked all the time, how did you grow your channel? What do you do when it's not making money? And I'm like, I've been very fortunate that I'm not going to lose my house. Like if a video doesn't do well. But I mean, even as of this year, prior to my channel kind of taking this swing that it's taken, I was getting ready to go back to school. I was kind of like, I just don't know if this is for me or not. But then I decided, I was like, I'll give it one more try. I'm going to start talking about what I actually want to talk about it. Screw what the SEO, you can go in like TubeBuddy or something and it tells you how something will rank. I was like living by that thing. If it didn't tell me the video was going to do very good or excellent, I was like, I'm not going to post it. Or I'm not even going to film it. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to say whatever I want to say and see what happened. And ironically, everyone says forever and always, just be yourself. It's the truth. Like once you start doing what you really want to do, there is an audience for everything and everyone. And that's why I say all the time, like, I can't believe how long it took me to finally start doing what I wanted to do, considering how unhappy I was with it for so long.
Yeah. So was there any specific thing that happened which made you think, okay, this is it, I'm finally going to do it? Or were you just kind of sick of it and said, okay, I'm going to start doing what I want to do? Was there anything surrounding that situation?
I actually I've talked about this a lot on my channel. It's, I had a really rough 2018. There was a lot of really stressful things going on. If you look at my uploads for 2018, I want to say maybe I posted 10 or 11 videos all year. It wasn't a lot. And then after I got out of that and I came into 2019, I just kind of felt, as dramatic as it sounds, that like I had a second chance at life kind of thing. And I was like, I'm going to do what I want to do all the time, forever now, because I feel like I have the opportunity. Once you go through something really, really hard, it kind of makes all the dumb stuff you put up with or you force yourself to do seem so inconsequential.
Yeah, puts things into perspective.
Absolutely. And I just felt like, well, now I have a clear head and a clear heart and I'm ready to give this one last try. If I do it the way I want to do it and it doesn't work out, then it's just not meant to be. I'll go back to pro MUA and, that'd be the end of it. I think that's honestly what it came down to. That, and I decided in 2019 I wasn't going to buy makeup anymore. Those decisions kind of went hand in hand.
Okay.
And once I decided that I wasn't going to buy makeup anymore, it kind of like, there's like freedom in restriction in that way, that if you constantly have tons of PR coming in and you're constantly buying new makeup, it almost feels like it's too much. But when you have less to work with, your creativity really kind of comes out and you start figuring out other ways to approach a subject. And I think that's a big part of what happened with me.
Yeah. So, okay, then we can talk about that now. So then you made this decision. Was it like January, new year, new you, I'm not going to buy any makeup?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you made that decision to not buy any makeup in 2019. And then was that at the same time that you said, I'm just going to talk about what I want to do on my channel?
Absolutely. Because the way I looked at it was, okay, if I'm going to decide that I want to get back into pro MUA work, any money that I want to spend on makeup can't go to makeup for me anymore anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say for the sake of argument, it's January. I've decided to go on this no buy, but I've also decided, should I buy makeup, it has to be invested back into my kit. It can't go into my own personal collection anymore. So yeah, those things definitely worked in tandem. And I kind of felt like if I can't make a career in social media around makeup without shopping, then I don't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? Because it kind of felt like I don't want to talk about shopping. I just don't. I want to talk about
the
makeup. Absolutely. I feel like that's where it kind of became something that I don't feel like I fit in with it really.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let me see. I would say I'm going to pull it up so we can see kind of maybe where that shift happened on your channel. So in looking at the videos, where would you say? So that's Thanksgiving. That's probably still 2018.
That's 20. Yeah. The first video I posted, it's one more down. If you go down, it says my 2019 makeup no buy. That's kind of when I announced it.
Okay.
It wasn't, the funny thing was I announced it. I said all my reasons for it. That video did well compared to the ones that had been going on before that. But even now, like it says, there's 19,000 views. I would say maybe in the first week, that one got like 7,000 views instead of 2. So it was an uptick, but it wasn't massive. But really, honestly, the video that changed it and made it to where I was like, I know what people want to hear now was the one I posted it on April 26th. I'll never forget it. Okay, it's called, let's see, that one. How to stop buying so much makeup, 6 things you have enough of. That one went up, and then it just, things started taking off for some reason. And I'd never thought it would do so well because, like I said, I was living by TubeBuddy, and it kind of wasn't reflecting that it was going to. And overnight, for me to have a video do like 25,000 in a week at that point was massive.
A lot. Yeah.
So I just was like, okay, this is what people, obviously there's an audience for this. Obviously they like the way I talk about it. So let me just try to create content around this. And it's honestly been the one video that's changed everything for me.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that's I love the message behind your story in the sense that you were burnt out and you said, I'm going to give this one last hurrah, but instead I'm going to really just kind of do what I want to do. I'm not going to pay attention to the, all the keyword research and all that stuff. I'm just going to do what I want to do. Right.
Absolutely.
And so how did you come up with these video topics? Was it just things you've been wanting to do for a while? You hadn't, or were they things that just, you're like, I want to just talk about this?
It kind of felt in a weird way like I was telling a story. It kind of was like I knew there was so this video, the Why I'm Over the Beauty Community, that would be chapter 1, I guess.
And then is it? Where I'm Over the Beauty Community.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, right here. Okay, I see that. Yeah.
That's the one where
the first one that you released in the new year. Okay.
Right. So that one kind of set the intention. And then I just slowly but surely was just like, what is a new conversation I can bring to the table surrounding this topic? And and most of this has been me just sharing what I'm learning along the way. I mean, even if you look up, there's a video that says 8 ways to go green. Like I was almost to the point where I was like, well, let me just try doing like lifestyle videos. Let me
but that one didn't do good.
No, not at all. I mean, it's the funny, once again, that goes back to that keyword and SEO thing. When I searched it, it said it was going to do bangers, and then it didn't do anything. So you can't, like, those things are tools and they're nice to have, but sometimes I feel like they can distract you a little bit because
I agree.
Everybody wants to make a video and everybody wants it to do as well as possible. But there's videos that I post sometimes that maybe like the first week or so, it's ranking extremely low. But then within a month, it blows up in a way that you just can't predict. And that's kind of when I was like, this is just chaos. I'm just going to do what I want and see what happens.
Yeah. And when you started doing that, things took off. So I kind of wrote down a timeline based upon looking at your social blade. And so I always think this is really interesting when you look at somebody's, actually, let me share it. You look at, because you could see here where all that happened. It's like, okay, like boom, all of a sudden weekly subscribers, like boom, video views. And so even like here, you can see, oops. Where'd you go? Okay. You could see the graph here, how you were just like, steady Eddie, kind of the same. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, right here at this time in May. And I think that's when that video came out. So we're at October right now, 2019, and you're at 111,000 subscribers. This time last year, you're at 72,000 subscribers. And
what's even more interesting about that, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. What's even more interesting about where I am now versus last year, I think in all of 2018, I think I gained like 3,000 subscribers. Like nothing was happening that entire year. It got to the point where I was uploading and I was like, why am I even doing this? Like nobody,
no one's watching. Yeah. What's the point? Yeah. And it's just crazy how like a little mind shift or like small tweaks can make a dramatic impact on your channel, which is insane. So it's like you had 2018, nothing really happened for you. You made that decision. Beginning of 2019, you started uploading different types of videos. And then that one video on April 29th was how to stop buying so much makeup. And then that one got 188,000 views. Not right away, obviously, but I'm sure over time. But then it looks as if that's where your channel started to jump, because then in May of 2019, you're at 73,000 subscribers, like right here. And then all of a sudden you could see here on the graph, it's like, okay, June, you're at, 81. And then let's see, July, you're 89. And then August, 90, September, 102. And now like 111. And so in a matter of 5 months, you grew 40,000 subscribers, whereas all of last year you grew 3.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy, especially for someone that's been on, because a lot of times you hear these people go viral and then they're like, this person's like brand new and they're like on the scene and now they have like 100,000 subscribers and then they're at 1 million in a few months. But it's like, I think it's a really good story to show that like, even though you've been on YouTube for some time, there's always that opportunity for like, if you feel stuck, for your channel to just start taking off.
I think the interesting thing about it is, I tell my husband this all the time, I don't think it could have happened at a better time.
Oh, okay.
I'm so glad it didn't happen before now, because if I had blown up or kind of reached a certain level of success doing the content I was doing before, let's say it happened a year ago, 2 years ago, I know I couldn't have sustained that. I would have gotten it's a natural progression for me no matter what, where I just have to do things that feel different or make me a little nervous to do or kind of challenge me, and to kind of once again stay in that very formulaic, well, now I got to talk about friggin' concealer every day for the rest of my life or my channel is going to die. Like that would have been the worst case scenario. So now that it's happening, I feel like it's actually on like my terms now, and I can sustain this. I know I can keep doing this. I couldn't have kept doing it any other way.
I see what you're saying. So if you did a video that was like, oh, the best concealers of September or whatever, and then that video like randomly blew up, you'd be like, I don't want to do another video. I don't want, like what you were saying is like sustain it. Like in order for you to continue that growth, you have to continue doing that content, because that's the audience that you're attracting. That's who's subscribing and all that. But at this point, it's on your terms. I think that's great.
I'm so much happier with it. And even now, the cool thing, like I said, about what I feel like I've done this year, or what I'm most proud of, is the fact that I feel like I'm telling a story. I'm talking a little bit about what I've learned and kind of what went into my decision that I made. And a lot of people want to ask me like, how are you doing this? How do you resist doing it? Like, I feel like I'm trying to help people. But the next question becomes, everybody wants to know, like, am I going to do this next year? Am I going to know by next year? Like, what's the next thing I'm going to do? And now I'm starting to figure out, where do I want to take this conversation next? And the fact that I can constantly shift the discussion around something that I'm interested in, I don't know, man. It's just like so much fun now. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And so people, I would imagine you get this question like, well, so then how are you going to continue creating content when you're really not focusing? I mean, you haven't bought any new makeup in 2019.
Unless I've ran out of something that I know I like. Absolutely.
Nothing.
I don't want to.
Yeah. I'm sure you probably have so much makeup as it is.
It's nuts.
So did you stop accepting PR? What's that relationship with PR now that you're in this no buy?
I think my relationship with brands in terms of PR has always been maybe a little frustrating for them because unless I absolutely love something, I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm not going to take a picture of it. I just didn't feel that need to be like, got a new package from Urban Decay. Here's what it looks like. Got a new package from Stila. Here's what it looks like. And now I just kind of feel like if I get PR, obviously I'm very grateful for it. I don't take that for granted. I understand there's lots of people who would appreciate it. But at the end of the day, if I'm not going to use it, I'm just not going to use it. So it either goes to a giveaway, I donate it, friends, family. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I kind of wish I was in a scenario where not only did I receive less PR, but like I kind of wish brands would ask you if you want something before they send it, because I feel like you can send it to me and I appreciate it and that's wonderful, but I guarantee you there are other people out there who would use this, who would make content around it, who would help you grow awareness around this product. I'm just probably not going to be that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Have you ever emailed them and just be like, I appreciate it. Can you just take me off your list?
I haven't, but they kind of weeded themselves out. Like, I think they're kind of like, okay, this girl's not doing anything with our PR. Take her off the list.
Take her
like,
off,
I feel like that. Charlotte Tilbury added me this year, and that was actually a big moment for me because I talk about Charlotte Tilbury and Hourglass on my channel constantly. Yeah. They're my favorite brands. And when I got that was super exciting. But outside of the brands, I really organically, like, to me, it's like, if I wouldn't go buy it, if I haven't bought it before, or if I wouldn't repurchase it after I got it for free, I'm not going to talk about it because everything's great when it's free. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's just my attitude towards it.
No, it's true. When you actually have to put your hard-earned money towards something, then you become much more discerning.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then a lot of people do think you have to be talking about product and that whole thing for your channel, especially for it to remain relevant, for it to remain interesting. So how are you coming up with video topics now when you're not talking about products? Like, you're a makeup channel that isn't focusing on makeup products per se. I mean, I saw you did actually a video that did really well, which was like your foundation routine and all that. And obviously there's products in there, but it's not product centric. That
video was wild. It was so funny. I put it up. So over the summer, I was trying to spend a lot of time with my family and I wasn't uploading as much as I wanted to. I was still maintaining once a week, but I'm happiest at 2. And I was like, you know what, I'll do this one random technique video and see how it does. That, when I was said before, there's some videos that go up and they do nothing. Yeah. Like, that video was ranking really low. And then like 2 weeks later, I looked at it and it was like 75,000 views. I was like, what happened? Like, it was wild. So to me, I think what I've learned is like,
so it's this one right here.
Yeah, that one was, I don't know if it was I was really strategic about that thumbnail and that title. Yeah. Like, I know that at the end of the day, you know, you can talk about anything, but if that thumbnail and that title, it's not foolproof, but it certainly helps the situation. I just feel like people now, what they want is they want technique-based tutorials. They don't really care quite as much to be like fall makeup look, unless you've got the kind of audience that's been built on that over years. I don't know how much. I don't know. I say it all the time. Like, the people who are going to do really well doing that are already doing it. People want new stuff now. Yeah. So if you can throw like a cool technique out there, I think those do well. But as far as the other content I come up with and how I come up with the content strategy or whatever, I just answer a bunch of questions. I pay attention to the questions that my viewers are asking me. Yeah. And I try to make videos around that, because my thinking is if one person's asking, where there's 1, there's 10, where there's 10, there's 100, where there's 100, there's 1,000. There's more people who want that information.
So you're saying that you take it from your audience, essentially.
I take it from the audience, and then I watch what people are talking about in comment sections of other people's videos, if that makes any sense.
No, like, I mean, you're not the first person to say that. That's a good strategy.
I think you have to pay attention to, this is going to sound weird. Sometimes I think that creators, once they get to a certain point, they're creating for each other. It's almost like they're, sometimes, and this isn't with everyone, I kind of feel like they're just flexing for each other a little bit. And I think the audience is over here like, hello, over here, like, we're the ones that are watching this. We have questions. Like, so I feel like if you really just pay attention to what the audience is talking about and what their questions are and what their interests are, it's immediate content. It's what if you look at everything like you're solving a problem instead of talking about you, I feel like you are guaranteed to foster a better relationship with your subscribers in general, which is the goal. But then, I don't know, I kind of feel like the beauty community is in a weird place right now. I feel like people are trying to figure out what to do. They're kind of like, all right, well, we bought all this crap. Now what?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how I feel the next wave. Like, I think that's what a lot of next year is going to be about.
Yeah, I've actually heard, and then like, don't quote me on this because I'm not sure where I heard it or how I heard it or the numbers, but I have heard that like new makeup releases sales are down a little bit for this year. Have you heard that?
So I saw an article and it said that, so essentially in beauty retail, you have like 3 different types of consumers. You have heavy consumers, you have medium, and you have rare. And the heavy consumers used to be the bread and butter of the beauty industry. And now that they're tapering off, where the people are getting enough stuff. And then you couple that with the fact that there's a new brand release, God, every day. You can't keep up with it anymore. And I feel like people just get to a point where they're like, all right. And for sure. And the irony is, like I said before, I had been feeling this way for years before I started making content around it. So I know, like I said before, where there's 1, there's 10, where there's 10, there's 100. I knew that I wasn't the only one that felt this way. And I think I've just found the people that are starting to kind of, transition out of that. Like place, right time.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you that. So, because you had built your audience based upon the fact that you were doing tutorials and makeup releases and things like that. So how do you feel your audience has responded to this kind of shift in your content starting in 2019?
They love it. The only thing that I get a little bit of grief about now is what I said before. It's like they just want more tutorials, and I just keep saying, "Well, you guys aren't watching them, so I don't know what to do." But I do want to continue to. I like to teach. I think that I was told, I'll never forget this as long as I live. When I was really young, a friend of mine said, the job that you should have is going to be based on something you love to teach other people to do. Like if you love to teach this thing, you could do it forever. And I love to teach makeup. Like I genuinely enjoy it. I'm learning that I'm not sure if YouTube is the ideal platform for that anymore. I don't know where I can take this to best benefit my audience and create really technique heavy, education based content. I will figure it out. But outside of that, either the audience that was watching me before has already dipped, or they're just growing with me. But I really haven't had a lot of people be like, please review more eyeshadow palettes. Like that's not happened.
Yeah. And people have responded really well to your no buy situation.
Yes. Thank God. And most of the people, I'm telling you, they're feeling so similar to me about it. They kind of feel like, for the lack of a better word, they feel kind of hoodwinked a little bit by all of this. And I think a lot of people don't know where to invest their money anymore, or kind of, I mean, I don't know how up to date you keep with, like, for the lack of a better word, the drama in the community.
I keep a little bit. Yeah.
There's been a lot of conversations over I would say 12 to 18 months about where the money is going, who's getting paid, how they're getting paid. And I think people just kind of, once again, like I said, I think that some content creators, when they get to a certain point, they're creating content for each other. They're not paying attention to the audience anymore. And I think that's where people who are trying to grow, that's what they need to pay attention to. Like, pay attention to the audience that's not getting their needs met on these existing bigger platforms, because they will find the content that they want.
Yeah, and I do think people are getting a little bit disillusioned, because like these people that they had the belief that were so authentic, that they looked up to, and they're like, okay, they're following and they're taking their advice, are coming up with some of these products and palettes and lipsticks or whatever, and then they're just not living up to the hype. And then they're like, okay, I followed you, I listened to everything you said, and then you come out with this, and it's now like a complete disaster. It's everything against like you as a creator have stood by and said, you're all about authenticity, you're all about this and that, and now your products don't reflect that. So I think people are getting a little disillusioned by all these new releases, and like you said earlier, like they just don't know where to spend their money. Like this person they trusted, they thought, okay, I should be able to spend my money on that makeup. but it's not the case. And so
Absolutely.
I think people are getting a little bit disillusioned by this whole thing in general.
I also think I kind of have my own little theory about this and kind of where it's going, where it's like, I see the beauty, because like I said, first video in 2007 is the first one I ever saw. So I've been watching this machine for a long time. Like, I feel like what's happened is 2014 was the first year that I feel like the beauty community as we know it now started to exist. That's when I feel like the first influencer beauty brand collab started happening. That's when the Instagram really started growing. I feel like a lot of the people who were doing really well in 2014 are the ones who are at the top of the heap now, who have the millions and millions of subscribers. And I feel like the people who got in 2014, and by the people who got in, I mean the viewers, 2014 was 5 years ago? They're older now. People are getting older. And I think naturally what happens is once you get to a certain age or you get to a certain, life experience, your interest or the amount of money you're willing to invest into something like beauty, it just changes a little bit. Like, this cannot go on forever the way that it is. I mean, unless it's just going to be a bunch of 18-year-olds getting their Instagram account for their first time this year, I don't see it keeping up this way. I think that like I said, I'm 33. I feel like I'm a little bit on the older side for some people in the beauty community, but I feel like my viewers are like me. They're the ones who have kind of been into beauty for a long time, and now they're getting older, and they're like, once again, like, well, now what? So I still want to be in beauty. I still want to enjoy it. I still love it, but the conversation changes for me. The interest level in it changes, and the way it defines me, the way I want to live my life, I don't know how to explain it. It's just such a huge shift in who you are as a person over the years. And I think that, to me, all the brand releases we've seen this year, to me, that's like a SOS. It's them realizing that people are getting out and they're just going to keep trying to get this last bit of interest that they can. And then, like, fingers crossed next year goes well for them too. I just don't think it's going to keep up like this. And that's what I think new creators need to focus on. Figure out what people want now. Like, if you want to be in the beauty industry, figure out what people who love beauty but don't want to keep spending money on beauty want to talk about, what they want to learn about. And for me, it's been now the new conversation I'm really interested in is talking about the beauty industry and the beauty community, and kind of the way we internalize that, like what it means for us as women as we're getting older and kind of discovering ourselves. They say your 30s is like when you kind of figure out like who you are and what you want to do. And once you move away from beauty, it's like, who are you now? I don't know. I could go on about this forever.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting. I'm sure I've seen on your channel that you have kind of talked about those things. I mean, if we look at your, let me go back. If we look at your channel, it looks like those are the types of things that you are talking about the beauty community, about, like you said, internalizing it, saving money. I thought, let's talk beauty community, sponsors, affiliates, and PR. And that face.
I think if I ever make merch, I'm going to put that face on it.
Oh my God. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, come over to YouTube, subscribe, check out the interviews on the YouTube channel, because there's some visuals to go along with it. But, and I think this one here, how do I move this so you guys can see it? I don't know. I can't move it. But this one says the real reason no one likes beauty gurus. I think that's a really interesting topic. So you are talking about this on your channel, and it seems like people are resonating with it, because 166,000 views on a video is good, but it's not like some people go viral and they get like 500,000 or 1 million, right? And then that'll bump their channel up maybe 15,000 subscribers or something like that. But 166,000, like, there have been people that have gotten that have seen growth or whatever, but for you to get 40,000 new subscribers in like 5 or 6 months, that's a lot of growth. And what I noticed too from your channel is that one video, yes, you got 166,000, where is that? Views. However, since then, consistently your views are a lot higher than they were before. Like it's like you're getting 46,000, 33,000, 37,000, 25,000. That one that was almost 200,000, now 50,000. Whereas before, it almost looked like you were getting like 12,000, 15,000 views.
If that.
Yeah. I mean, we could go back and look, 3.8.
3,000.
3,000,
Oh my
2.7
gosh,
thousand, 8,000, 5,000. So it's like, it almost like kind of kicked off this whole catalyst of like all your videos. It's like, that one video kind of went like, you would call it like viral-ish.
For me, sure.
Yeah, for you, right? 166,000 views. That's a lot of views. But, in the grand scheme of things, like for some people, like when they go viral, it's more. But for you, it's like, it was like that perfect storm that you talked on a topic that people resonated with. And then they're like, oh, she's alive. Oh, she's there. I forgot about her. Like, oh, maybe I'll check her out. Or, who knows? Maybe the YouTube algorithm was just pushing it out and not pushing all your content out. But it sounds like you made a good decision. So I want to talk on something else that I noticed about your channel was that recently, and you can give details on this because I don't know the exact specifics, you opened up a Patreon account.
I did.
So
I did.
Let's talk about that. What made you decide to do that? How's that going so far? All that stuff.
Patreon to me, in the year that we've had with YouTube in terms of the direction the company is trying to take, I kind of feel like is almost a necessity. I've been very fortunate where I haven't been I've been demonetized in the however many years and however many videos I have. I think it's only happened about 4 times. I've been very fortunate. But I do know that YouTube is considering certain types of, I believe they're calling it bashing creators type content. They're demonetizing that. I feel like I expressly go out of my way not to bash anyone. I try to speak in generalities, and I try to use certain brands or creators as allegories more than like, let's villainize this person. But I don't know how that's going to go. Tomorrow they could decide, well, we're not having any of this. And considering I'm the type of person who is very, I don't want to say anti-makeup because I'm not, but considering I'm not I'm not a workhorse for any brands, I feel like my opportunities for sponsorships are limited. And then on top of that, I feel like it makes me a huge hypocrite to sit here and be like, don't buy a lot of makeup, except buy this because they're paying me to talk about it this month. And I don't have affiliate codes. Like, I kind of have this lofty sort of ambition I've set for myself, and I haven't
You don't have any affiliate codes at all?
I've never had. I've had a Sigma one in like 2016 for a little bit, but I really to me, it was like, I'm not trying to sit here and like, I'd have to talk about that so much to make it worth my while, considering the amount of other people that have the same exact code. And I personally, I respect the hustle. I get that people have to make money. But at the same time, like once I'm just constantly hearing you use my code, I just kind of start to move away from that content just a little bit. Like it's a gut thing. It's an instinct thing. I can tell when I'm being pandered to or sold to. But for me, I have this really weird kind of lofty ambition where I'm like, what if I was one of the only beauty creators or beauty YouTubers who has no relationships with brands? Like, what if I didn't do that? What if I didn't take PR? What if I didn't do brand trips and sponsorships and affiliate codes? What if like I was literally just like my viewers, and just like my viewers, I would go spend my money on my own product and develop my own opinion, and I wouldn't have this kind of cyclical influencer brand relationship? What would that look like? That would be really interesting. I would watch that. I would want to see if someone could even sustain it, and how that would shape their content and their reviews and things like that. And for me, Patreon was the perfect supplement to that. Like over on Patreon, I can, you have a small dollar amounts that your patrons pledge to you every month. They get bonus content. Like over there, they're getting 2 extra videos. They're getting the first episodes of my podcast. There's giveaways. There's live streams. I'm having a great time over there. It's so much fun. But at least this way, it's giving me an opportunity to drastically limit my relationships with brands. Like I think all year I've done 2 not even sponsored. They were like sponsored in part bits of content. A lot of people, honestly, not a lot of people, that's over dramatic, but a few people have pointed out that somehow this is hypocritical of me as well to be like, they're like, How you gonna sit here and tell people not to buy makeup, but then be like, go join my Patreon? And I'm like, I mean, do what you want either way. Like, if you want to buy makeup,
it's like $3 a month. And the reality is that people have to understand, because you've chosen this route to not do affiliate, to not do brand deals, like,
where do you want me to make money at?
Yeah, having a YouTube channel. There's costs associated. It's your time. There's equipment. I mean, it's your time, especially your time. A lot of time. So much time. So it's like people have to understand. And I feel like people are, I mean, I could be wrong, but it seems as if people are getting more and more comfortable with the idea of, like, the fact that as creators, we all have to make money somehow, right? And yes, like, we all have free content, which is great. This podcast is free. Your videos are free. That's amazing. That's the beauty of this entire thing, is that people essentially don't have to pay for this content. But at the same time, as creators, you have to be compensated for
I gotta eat, man.
Yeah. You gotta eat. You gotta everything.
I think the thing is, as long as, and this might be, to me, where I feel like some people are losing their audience and they're losing touch, is that as long as you're transparent about your intentions and what you're giving and what they're getting, if people choose not to support me that way, and if they choose to find what I'm doing distasteful in some way, like, I can't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very,
that's not your audience.
Sign up, exactly. And on Patreon, you're very aware of what you're getting from me every month. And if you decide that it's worth the financial investment, which even though it is only $3, $5, $7, like, I take that I really appreciate that. They don't have to give me a penny. So like, it's super cool that they do. But as long as I'm delivering on what I'm promising, I feel like I can sleep at night with that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's fair.
It's a transaction. People want this from you and you're giving it to them. It's not like there's anything bad about it. The whole world goes round by people purchasing things that they need and people supplying them. So it's like,
absolutely.
It's just crazy. And the reality is, I think those people would be hard pressed to find a YouTuber anywhere but in the beauty space that isn't making money some way, shape, or form, whether it's affiliates, whether it's brand deals, whatever it is, right?
But then those people aren't happy with that either. That's the type of that type of. It's like, I get it. Like, money is tight. Like, it's hard out there. I get it. I'm certainly not trying to swindle or hoodwink anybody. But at the end of the day, anyone who's listening to this podcast, I would assume, is probably an aspiring content creator, or at least very interested in content creation. There's many ways that you can make money doing this. I think that as long as you are making sure that your integrity, your brand, like, I feel like I have a brand of my own, and to give it over to an existing mega corporation brand and let them use my likeness and all that stuff, like, that feels like selling myself short a little bit. I'd rather make a little less, but doing exactly what I want, than be in somebody's pocket. And But different folks, different strokes. There's people out there who I feel like are extremely honest and extremely transparent, and they do have affiliate codes and they do brand deals, but it's just going to be for, like, what's the right fit for you. And I think that there's not a lot of people in beauty doing Patreon, which is interesting to me. And I've seen a lot with gamers. It's a lot with podcasts. It's a lot with artists, things like that. But beauty hasn't really had a moment on Patreon yet. And I think that's because people feel like, well, I can get all this information for free somewhere else. And you absolutely can. But like I said, since this is in part of, like, a bigger message that I would like to share, or like a journey I would like to go on with my subscribers, I'm kind of like, hey, let's hang out on Patreon. Let's see if I can do this without brands. It might be kind of fun. I don't know. It could go terrible. We'll see.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it?
Literally, I launched it on September 1st. So I've just started it.
Yeah.
It's very new.
And it says here, well, you already have 140 patrons, which is awesome.
I know. I can't. I've really thought, I was like, I might get like 10 people over there the first month. Like, I did not expect much for it. I'm very grateful to the people who have come over and hang out. But the crazy thing is, I got to say, you ever heard that phrase that really all you need to be successful is 1,000 true fans? I believe that. Like, if you can, that's why I started my Facebook group too, is I was like, let's create more places where people who like me and who like my type of content can all hang out together. And I feel very connected with my audience. The biggest problem I have now is that I can't talk to them enough. Like there's just not enough hours in the day anymore. And that's starting to bump me out a little bit, that I can't, kick it with them in the DMs all the time anymore. I can't respond to every comment. It's just getting a little much. But I think that's a part of content creation that a lot of people overlook. That's what I go back to what I said before, where it feels like a lot of content creators are creating content for each other. Like you got to keep in mind your audience, like they're there for you. And I don't know if you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. I'm a really big fan of his, but his whole theory of like give, then ask, like that is where I think people mess up. Like people want to get on YouTube and use my code. But like, if people don't feel like that's genuine or you're giving enough to them, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So be there for your audience and they will follow you and support you. And that's all you need.
And it's so true. Yeah. And that 1,000 True Fans, Kevin Kelly, he wrote an essay entitled 1,000 True Fans, and it was specifically geared towards artists, but it's a creative in general. And the concept is you can make a living as a creative if you have 1,000 true fans. But obviously on YouTube, that might equate to, I don't know, 1 million subscribers or, 500,000 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers. The idea, though, is that your kind of subscriber to true fan ratio is, I think it would be on the smaller side, right? You don't want to have a ton of subscribers that aren't your true fans. And it's like that true fan is that person that is going to watch everything you put out, is going to, ultimately buy what you sell, is going to just follow you on Instagram, follow you on Facebook, join your Facebook group, everything. They're that person that's going to be there and your ride or die. And that key to success is finding those people, is finding those true fans. But you're not going to do that unless you create content that they want. And like you said, you're not pandering to brands. You're not, pandering to other creators. It's your audience that matters.
Absolutely. I feel like Patreon's been an interesting exercise for me because the 140 people that are over there, I'm like, you guys are for real.
Yeah.
Like you guys are real. Because I mean, I think about always the barrier to entry for any social media platform. I mean, it's why Instagram makes it so that you can only have one link in your entire bio because they don't want you to leave the app. Like every app is designed to keep you there. So when someone leaves YouTube and goes to any of my other social media platforms to hang out with me, it's huge because I'm like, you didn't have to do that. You could have stayed on YouTube and just binge watched 1 million videos on the same topic, but you've converted over to this other platform. And now the people that are going to Patreon, I feel so like, I don't know, man. I want to like hug all of them. I just think it's so crazy that they're so supportive and so kind to me. It's incredible. I feel this way about everyone that hangs out with me. It's not just that the patrons, but the ones that are on Patreon, they just make me feel like obviously I'm doing something right. Yeah. If this many people are cool to give me money every month, that's wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations on just like a great start,
Thank you.
Where do you see it headed from here? Say like this time next year? The Patreon
oh wow, by this time next year I would love to be in a place where I can use Patreon to have things like meet and greets. I would love to have really just any opportunity to give back, any opportunity to have more on one-on-one. I'm kind of getting to a place now where a teeny tiny part of me wants to put a cap on it to where like once it gets to a certain point I'm gonna have to cut it off and not let it grow anymore. I don't even know if that's a feature that's possible, but I want to keep it intimate. I kind of like that. I feel like there's so much noise on social media, and Patreon's almost like your own little website that you don't have to pay for domain hosting or anything on. Like it can really be such a special place for you and your true 1,000 or whatever percentage of your overall social media followers that would equate to. And it's also a really good sounding board. Like they tell me what they want in there and what they want to see more of. And I kind of feel like I need to listen to them because they're the ones who really support me. Where there's 1, there's 10, where there's 10, there's 100. That's just the way I feel about everything on social media, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's amazing. And we'll have to see where it goes from here. But I have a good feeling about it. So we're nearing the end of the episode, and this is called the Power Hour segment, and it's the same questions I ask everybody that's come on the show, and you just kind of just respond with your first answer. All right?
Okay.
So what would you say are the defining moments of your YouTube career so far?
I would say making the decision to go on this no-buy shaped everything for me.
What is the hardest part for you about being a YouTube influencer?
Ooh. when I get negative comments, I don't ever want to be in a place where I just dismiss everything as hate right off the bat. So it's kind of like learning where to take on constructive, even if there is like a little nugget of constructive criticism amidst all the insults, like trying to figure out what I can learn from it and what to let go of. Because I can't be everything for everyone, but I certainly don't want to think I have all the answers and just ignore it either.
Yeah. Yeah. It is hard, I'm sure, to discern the people that are just being nasty to the people that are actually like, okay, if multiple people are saying this, then maybe it is something I should, consider.
Absolutely.
What, if you were to get started today, what would you have done differently?
I would have gone out of my way to do things as differently from everyone else as possible. I wouldn't do anything anybody else was doing. I would do exactly what I wanted to do and make it so uniquely me that anyone who passed a thumbnail without even seeing my name attached to it would be like, that's a Whitney video. That's what I would want to do.
Well, it sounds like you're kind of doing that now.
Yeah,
you're trying to. What are you most proud of when it comes to your YouTube channel?
I'm really proud of the audience that I have. I feel like there's been so many inspirational, educated, intelligent, funny, caring people that watch me. And I'm just proud that there's something I'm doing that's drawing that caliber of person to me. It's kind of like, y'all are pretty great. What are you doing over here? Kind of thing. It's neat.
That's awesome. If you could change one thing about YouTube, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. I wish that I just wish that the audience would understand more how much they are in control of this. Like, it's an interesting kind of parallel to me where you see a lot of people talking about, we're sick of the same content, we're sick of the same influencers. I'm like, but y'all keep watching them. So like, I wish people would understand that there is more out there, and I wish YouTube would support newer, smaller creators a little more. I honestly think they must be doing better, or I would not be doing as well as I am now.
Yeah. I think YouTube is doing better in regards to like really like pushing out new people.
I think so.
As opposed to, because now you can be found so many different ways in YouTube. The right hand recommended bar at the end of the video, on your homepage. It's not just who you're subscribed to, which I think
I stay on my homepage.
Yeah.
I don't even go to my subscriptions anymore. I only watch what comes up on the recommended. So I don't know. That's how I find everything now, because I trust the algorithm a little bit. I'm like, y'all know what I watch. Put some more stuff in front of me.
That's the thing. And so in the past, they didn't have that. So people were kind of like, well, I'll subscribe to these people that are the biggest people, and that's all that they're presented with. But now with this kind of pretty sophisticated algorithm, their AI, that they are trying to feed people what they want.
Yeah, that they're doing that thing. That's their goal. They don't want you to leave the app. So you just got to trust that as long as you pay attention to those metrics, like that first video I posted that did well, I was like, okay, people obviously want to see this, and YouTube will put this in front of those people the more I create things in line with that. So I think if you just trust the algorithm a little bit, I know people hate on it, but trust it a little bit. Pay attention to how much cool stuff gets in front of you, like it happens. You know
and
what
that
I mean?
There's creators left and right. I mean, all the people that I have on my on my podcast, and I have a program that I sell too about YouTube, and students left and right. People are seeing success on YouTube. So it's like you can't be in this bubble of like nothing's happening. You have to see like, okay, there are things happening. So what are they doing?
Oh, yeah.
That I can apply to myself, which is the whole point of this whole podcast and everything. So do you pay attention? It sounds like you went away from paying attention to keywords and keyword phrases and SEO and all that, right? Or do you still pay attention to that?
I do. I mean, I certainly... Here's the thing. I would say a good rule of thumb is every month, let's say if you're like me and your goal is to do 2 a week, I don't always meet it, but that's in a perfect world, that's roughly 8 to 9 videos a month. If about 7 of those videos you rely on SEO a little more, and 2 of those you throw out something really random, I think you're in a good position. Because if you rely on SEO too much, you're putting yourself back in that place of like, what's everybody else doing? What's tracking well? And some of the most interesting videos I have seen on YouTube, or the ones that I think do go viral and do well, is something you have never heard of, something you've never seen anything like. So you have to trust your gut a little bit. Don't be a slave to SEO. Look at it like what it is. It's a tool. It's not the Bible. You just kind of have to, just have to kind of be creative, but be strategic at the same time.
And do you pay attention to analytics, like any metrics that you track?
So I try to, but I've learned, like I said, that certain videos that don't do well, like that one, the foundation one, I am so sorry, excuse me.
Oh, it's okay.
We were talking about before that quickly, I think in the span of a month, did almost 200,000 or something like that. Initially, it did nothing. Like I'm telling you, in the first week, it might have done 4,000 or 5,000, and that was a low number for me at that point. And then it just popped. So I feel like I can try to pay attention, but I can't predict what it's going to do. You just can't. It can go either way, but it's a fun surprise when it blows up for no apparent reason.
Yeah, no, definitely. What has been the biggest mistake you've made on your YouTube channel?
Definitely not trusting myself, I would have to say, because like I said, when I would do videos in the past, it felt like such a chore. I didn't like doing it. So it's almost like, why would I have thought in a million years I would be successful doing something I don't like? Like, people are smart. They know when you're having fun, if you're enjoying it, if you're authentic. So I think everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has an angle. Like, really hone in on your strengths and focus on that, and don't worry about what anyone else is doing. You just can't.
Yeah. What is the best decision you made about your channel?
Speaking my mind. I just say what I want to say. And like, I used to feel like I had to be super politically correct and like try to keep it upbeat and bubbly. And now it's like, if people watch me, people throw the word negative around. Oh, you're just negative. You're being negative. And I'm like, well, if you take everything that I'm saying and you want to condense it down to negativity, once again, you're just not my audience. You can't make everyone happy. Don't try to make everyone happy. Make yourself happy, and then the cool people will find you.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. And what is the best opportunity you have received as a result of your YouTube channel?
I'm not going to lie. You asking to interview me is kind of cool. I'm super tickled by this. I got to collab with a YouTuber at the beginning of the year. Her name's Shallon Lester, and I'm such a huge fan of hers. And the fact that she agreed to collab with me, like when our videos went up, and she was doing her intro, and she was like, she said my name. I was like, oh my God. Like, I just think and then I also did a collab with a creator named Nappy Headed Jehovah, who I'm also a big fan of. So honestly, just being able to work with and communicate with people who I enjoy, like I've been listening to your podcast since like 2017. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how you just get to meet and interact with such strong, hardworking women. I think that is the coolest thing about beauty YouTube. There's so many strong, intelligent, hardworking women out there, and I'm just honored to be hanging out with everybody, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And last question, what is your YouTube superpower? Meaning, what is it that comes very naturally to you that you really don't have to work at, that has contributed to your success on YouTube?
I think I have the gift of gab. I think I'm a good talker. Like, I've always been really good at that. So it's not difficult for me to formulate ideas and put them into like a concise message. I think it'd be very difficult to be on YouTube if you're not comfortable with that. But I don't think it's something that if you don't have, you can't develop either. So I think if you can figure out how to get an idea together and articulate it in a funny, kind of smart way, you're golden. People love that. Yeah,
and I think the key is also finding something you're really passionate about. Because if you're burnt out, like you said, you're like, I can't even upload. I can't film.
Yeah, I couldn't even fake interest in that after a while. It's hard.
Yeah, you could talk for hours about something that you're really passionate about, but if it's not, you're like stumbling for a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
So where can people find you if they heard you and they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta check out her channel and see what she's all about? Where can people find you?
definitely come hang out on YouTube, because the good news, if you find one of my videos in the down bar, there's links to everywhere else you can come hang out with me. But I say YouTube, Instagram is just my name, Whitney_Hedrick. I have a Facebook group called War Paint. That's a really fun place to be. The Patreon, just Whitney Hedrick. And then in November, I'll have a podcast called War Paint going live everywhere, which I'm so excited about. So I hope people. Oh, I know. I can't wait.
So what are you going to talk about on your podcast?
The podcast is going to be a little bit more of dissecting the beauty industry and the beauty community, and just kind of unpacking all these messages and figuring out where our love of beauty begins and where outside influence starts. Like, I feel like that's kind of what my journey is now, figuring out how much of this is me and organically what I want to do, and how much of this feels like pressure to do, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Well, that's amazing. So by the time this interview gets released, and if that podcast is live, then we'll make sure to link it in the show notes and everything else in the show notes.
Thank you.
Down in the description as well. So thank you so much, Whitney. It's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye-bye.